Hello, this is Peter Jermain. Today is July 12th, 2020. Here are the notes that I will be using for this video, and the topic of today's discussion is going to be dissection of the sheep heart, which you can see here. You can see it from the anterior view as well as from the posterior view, and I'm going to begin by labeling the four chambers. So for instance, if we look from the external anterior view, here you can see the right atrium, which is around here. It is the right upper chamber that receives deoxygenated blood from the systemic circulation. And on the opposite side of the heart, around here, you can see the part of the left atrium, which is the left upper chamber that receives oxygenated blood from the lungs. Back over to the right side, around here is the right ventricle, which is the lower right chamber that receives deoxygenated blood from the right atrium. And then on the left, you have the lower left chamber, which is the left ventricle. It's much larger, and this receives oxygenated blood from the left atrium. So this particular specimen has been dissected, allowing us to split it into an anterior and posterior view, which I'll do now. And this will give us the ability to look inside and to label the various valves. So for example, the mitral valve, also known as the left atrioventricular valve, can be seen here. And this is the valve that separates the left atrium from the left ventricle. Whereas the tricuspid valve, also known as the right atrioventricular valve, separates the right atrium from the right ventricle, and that can be seen here. The aortic valve separates the left ventricle here from the aorta, so here is the aortic valve. And then you have the pulmonic valve, which is a semilunar valve that separates the right ventricle from the pulmonary artery. And you can appreciate that here. So if we look once again from the external anterior view, we can appreciate this deep groove. And this is the interventricular septum, which separates the right and the left ventricles. And if we look once again on the inside, we can appreciate the various layers lining the heart. So the innermost layer is the endocardium, which is a thin membrane lining the inside chambers of the heart, and you can see that here. Whereas the myocardium is a much thicker section of cardiac muscle in the heart wall that contains the cardiomyocytes themselves. And all the way on the outside is the epicardium, which is a serous membrane forming the outer surface of the heart. Also from this view, we can appreciate these strands, the chordae tendineae, which are tendinous strands of fibrous tissue that function to hold the atrioventricular valves in place while the heart is pumping. And again, if we look at the external anterior view, we can appreciate some of the coronary arteries found on the outside of the heart, for example here, which supply blood to the heart muscle. So that's going to conclude this video for today, and I thank you for your attention.